And we are live.
Hello, everybody,
What's going on?
and
Hey,
welcome to the back catalog listening party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts,
my name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
and today we are welcoming Good Morning Bedlam to the show.
Yay!
Yay! And we are so happy to have them here, and we're so happy to have you here joining us. And folks are joining the party right on time. In fact, Victor checked in early, said waiting too much,
I hope you didn't wait
but
too much and
wait
is
is
now
no
no longer
longer.
waiting. Victor, if you're still here,
Yeah.
that was 6 a.m. It
Hello.
says here, so
And
he was waiting a long
he was
time.
very eager. And we got Chris enjoying some Uda pills, all right, and Connie from Richfield, Alinda from Connecticut, and Matt from Urbana, Illinois. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you are new to the show, feel free to let us know where you're tuned in from, what you're drinking, because for us on a Friday, 4 p.m. means happy hour.
Yep.
Tony, what are you drinking today?
I'm going out to the West Coast for a little Lagunitas IPA, one of my favorite IPAs.
Nice,
How about you?
nice. I am drinking from Cedar Falls, Iowa,
Whoa.
second state. It's pumpkin pie.
Whoa.
And I am not usually a fan of pumpkin beers. I'm usually like, they're either too sweet or they trying too hard. This is lovely. It's pretty light and it has a lot of nutmeg, so it's not overly sugary.
That sounds
So
good.
yeah, so I'm staying seasonal. And Good Morning Bedlam. We have Sophia, Tori, and Isaac. What are you all drinking on your Friday?
I'm having some whiskey with a twist
Nice.
from Elijah Craig.
Yeah, I have the Oliphant Brewing Spooky Squishy.
Oh, seasonal.
Yes. I am a huge fan of sour beers, and this is an apple pie sour ale. And I'm usually pretty picky about sours. I don't like them too sweet. I don't like them too syrupy. I like them just crisp and nice, and this is really good. This is
Nice.
I love Oliphant Brewing. They do great sours.
I'm
Nice.
drinking the same thing Sophie is.
All right.
All right. And Joe is got a Jack Daniels here in Minneapolis.
All right.
Nice work, Joe. Good to see you back here. For those of you who are new to the show, this is what we do every week, every Friday since since the COVID-19 lockdown started. We get together and listen to music with friends, and we explore all the ins and outs of great albums. You know, the recording, the songwriting, all the fun stories that go behind it. And we're really excited to dive into this album from Good Morning Bedlam today. But before we do, if you would like to give us maybe a brief bio of the band, how you got started and where the album we're going to listen to today kind of falls on that timeline.
Sure. Well, I started the band with Sophia a little over 6 years ago, and right after my first year in college, and she had another year of high school. So we started when I was 19 and Soph was 17, and we just started putting music together, and we put together our first record and released that a year in, and then we started writing the songs for the album we're going to listen to today, Like Kings. And we released that in July of 2018. So it's been a few years here. And that's the same year we went full-time as a band. So we spent our first few years there just doing it for fun and playing as many shows as possible. And then in May of 2018, we went full-time and released this record in tandem with doing that. And we've been traveling around the country and playing music ever since. So with a slight pause in last year, obviously.
Yeah, for some reason.
Why?
Yeah. You might have heard of
Yeah.
some things.
Strange pause.
That's great. And you guys are from the region here, is that correct? From the upper Midwest?
Yeah, so Sophia and we grew up in Rochester, Minnesota.
Okay.
And Soph still lives down in that area, and Tori and I live here in Minneapolis in North.
All right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Not too far from Ellen and I here in South.
Right on.
Excellent. Well, I think I don't know about you guys, but it's been a long week, and I could sure use some music to kind of kick off the weekend. So let's just dive right into it. The first tune we have lined up is "Pretty Papers." Is there anything you want to say about this song before we dive in, or would you rather just give it a listen and then talk about it?
Yeah, and we can talk about it afterwards, but I wrote this song. It was the first song that I had ever written. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow. All right.
I was very new to the band. I actually joined up in 2017. So I learned the bass to be in the band, and really I'd been a singer for a long time, but really dove into writing music on this song, and then even more so after this record came out. But yeah, I was I was so worried about this song, so I'm glad that it turned out well. Yeah, it was my first attempt, so I love it quite a lot.
Amazing. That's awesome. These are the kind of little tidbits that you don't get without liner notes these days. That's awesome. Well, it's quite an amazing first song ever. Let's give it a listen. It says "Pretty Papers" from Good Morning Bedlam on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Showing off at every chance I got. Curling fingers open swiftly to contain me. But before you knew it, all of me was lost. Tossing lovers into certain frenzy as the leaves drip down into the earth, causing chaos on the ocean when you need me. I'll be here when all you do is hurt, swirling up to meet the heavens falling, smoothing out those footprints in the sand. I will thrust you into danger and deception, but truly, dear, I am your only friend. Bursting open all your expectations, causing bedlam everywhere I go. Blame it on my recklessness or my redemption. Oh, my love, my weeds were bound to show. Weaving past the seasons in a heartbeat, pausing quick to graze you on the cheek, wrecking all my pretty papers on my desk here. I know that you hate it when I'm weak, listening to all those tiny tree forcing all the chimes to dance with joy. I'll make for certain to find you where you're sleeping and remind you of those times we had before. Listening up all your darkest worries, I will pry and poke and prod till dawn, just to show me to that last forbidden window. I promise that I'll catch you when you jump.
All right. Good Morning Bedlam with Pretty Papers from their 2018 release Light Kings, which we are revisiting today on the Back Catalog Listening Party. And Good Morning Bedlam joining us from Minneapolis today, Sophia, Tori, and Isaac. And Tori was saying before we played that song, her first song, I have to say, bravo, because
Thanks.
I can tell you my first song no one will ever hear that I've written. Never got recorded. So no,
Thanks.
beautiful song. And I'd love to know how you approached recording it, because, if folks have seen you live, it's pretty eclectic, but you play acoustic instruments, and there's a trio of you here. Who all was playing on the record? Did you bring in extra people, or was that just the three of you?
Yeah, let's dive in. So initially when I wrote the song, it was kind of modeled after like traditional hymns, the kind of the pattern of a traditional hymn. So it's just the same melody repeated and repeated and repeated. And the way that we like to write whoever's doing the main writing of the song, everyone else we do a lot of collaboration. We're very we work together on the songs quite a bit. So I brought that song, and then basically we had a former player at the time when the song was being written, Noah Pearson, who he was playing banjo, but he also played some keys.
We all can at least play a few chords on the piano, and he was the best.
He was the best at it.
Um,
So he I remember we were traveling or touring around, and we happened to stay at this house with a piano, and I was playing around with this song, and he started laying down those chords on the piano, and we would just lay every single verse, we would layer something else on, whether it was percussion or extra harmony, or it felt like then when we got into the studio, it was all of us on all of those instruments and Noah on the keys, but it was that same attitude of like, how do we continue to layer this song until the final verse where it gets small and sweet again. And I feel like in the production side of things, one of my favorite parts of this song is the drop. There's like, I kind of think of it in my mind as the drop. My weeds will show. And then the air is sucked out and the percussion comes in, and it feels like the song opens up in a different way. I love that part of the production. Our producer at the time of this record, Jared Hadaway, he added that, and I felt like it took the song to the next level.
I think that when we were working on the mix for this one in the studio, there was a moment in there that we hadn't quite put words on yet, that would kind of come to, so we basically just got our masters back for our upcoming record, but this song I feel like was one of the first steps in kind of showing where the music, especially on the production side, was going, where our producer kept sending us the mix back for Pretty Papers, and we kept saying, oh, we want more of this and we want more of that. And finally he just shot me a text that was like, oh, you want this to be a pop song? I was like, yes. And so I feel like that was the first start of us being a folk band that really likes pop production within our mixes. And usually the folkier the song, the more pop we like the production, and the poppier the song, the more folky we like the production. We love to ride that line right in between, because we, to a fault, love juxtaposition in this band. And so that's one thing we really like mix wise. So I remember that first mix, it was like we had been going back and forth, and I was like, this song just isn't like hitting the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And after that, he sent one mix, and it was like, oh, there it is.
There.
Like we have no notes. It's perfect.
We were actually just saying while we were listening to it, it's always hard as a musician to like listen back to some of your older stuff, because as you kind of get more experience in recording things, you figure out more what you like, and you look back and you're like, it's hard not to think of like, oh, we should have done this or that. We were saying this is one of the songs that we really enjoy listening to this one. I also remember when we were first arranging the song, we were out on tour, and we went through a lot of very bad ideas. I remember very specifically. And I remember specifically, Tori and I were throwing out these kind of like wacky ideas, and Isaac and our old banjo player, who's a good friend of ours that we grew up with, were like, no, don't do that.
Like, wait, what idea? I don't remember this at all.
We wanted to, well, it led to the ooze, the simple ooze that we have now. But we were thinking, you and I, or maybe it was just me, and Tori's she's really nice in it.
I don't remember, so.
Well, I think it was Tori and I were like, we should do like a doo-wop kind of thing, like with the ooze. And they were like, that's not going to translate well.
Well, I like the way the ooze turned out. I mean, you mentioned kind of hymns and stuff in between the piano and those harmonies. It really does kind of have that vibe. Very cool.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned it. You started off that way because it does have the basic elements are kind of those gospel elements,
Yeah.
but again, the way you produced it has that beautiful pop feel. And Joe just commented, "I just spotted your video for this one. You have a great video channel, the best." So we'll put a plug in for
Yeah.
when you folks are done here with back catalog. Make sure to check out their YouTube channel as well. Again, if you just tuned into the back catalog listening party, let us know you're here. Tell us if you have any questions or comments about any of the music we're hearing, or questions for Good Morning Bedlam about them or their process or any of that kind of good stuff, because that's what it's all about. And it's also, of course, about the music. And we have another track queued up, and this one that you picked is The Zoo. Anything you want to say about it, or why you chose it to feature today?
Let's listen to it first, then we can chat about it.
All right.
I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. This is The Zoo from Good Morning Bedlam here on the back catalog listening party.
My mind is skipping like a stone over silent waters. Each time I try to pull you close, I seem to push you farther. Screaming, can you hear me? But no sound escapes my mouth. Four walls, they're made of glass. I can't escape, but I can look through. Too slow to realize I'm not the human, I am the zoo. Come one, come all, and you'll find at the back of my mind there's a voice saying, son, if they love you, they're blind. You stay in your cage and let nobody through. You'll never feel pain, you'll have no one to lose. We'll live out each day in our box of perfection. The numbness will keep you from feeling rejection. Oh, I am all that there is. I am the cut, and I am the kiss. And darling girl, I swear it's true. I try to keep my vows to you, but selflessness has never been my virtue. You paid your dues, we've had our laughs. If you said that you'd take it back, I swear I'd never think to blame you. The scars across my side don't show it's love I want, it's pride. I know the more I learn, the less I seem to grow. Oh, I see you. Can't seem to say it, but I hope you know I need you. Oh la da 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 da. And when you come back home, you know I'll greet you. Oh la da 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 da. I hope you know I'll always reach you. My mind is skipping like a stone over silent waters. Each time I try to pull you close, I seem to push you farther. Screaming, can you hear me? But no sound escapes my mouth.
I wanted to make sure it was really done, before that. That was Good Morning Bedlam with The Zoo from the 2018 Like Kings, which we are revisiting today on the back catalog listening party. And wow, a lot going on in that song musically. I love the sort of gypsy circus kind of vibe to it. Very cool. So is that how you originally envisioned the song, Isaac?
Yeah, one thing I really wanted to do with this one is I wanted to write like a progressive song. So I grew up listening to like a lot of like metal and hardcore music. Actually, when I was 15, I was playing in a metal and hardcore band, and that's all I listened to. And then one day, I heard the Avett Brothers, and I was like, "Oh, this is what I want to do." I fell in love that day, and so that's kind of like where I came from musically. And one thing that I wanted to try as a folk musician is taking kind of the same form that you would hear in a metal song, which is rather than doing like A, B, C, B, you know, or verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, is doing like a part A, and then doing a part B, and then doing a part C, and then maybe doing a part D, or like revisiting the beginning. So that's like really normal form for those songs. And so I wanted to try something in folk music that did that. And that's kind of where the idea for this came from. And I also chose it thematically because what the song "The Zoo" is about is about anxiety, and just about how anxiety manifests itself within my own life. And so part A is how it manifests itself externally within my relationships. And then when it moves into the part that's in 3, into the minor key, it's what's happening internally at the same time. And then part C is the dialogue that happens between. So Tori and I are married, and one thing that I'm really privileged to get to do as a writer is not only do I get to write about my own feelings and stuff, but I also am able to use Tori's voice within the songs as her own voice in real life. So there is like that dialogue there. And so that part C is the dialogue between the two of us when that's going on. And then it returns to part A at the end, just to show the cyclical nature of how anxiety can manifest itself in your life. And even if you can sometimes identify it, how the process of working through that and growing through that is a long one, and it often has a cyclical nature when you're not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And so that's the other reason I wanted that form. And I really wanted to talk about it on this because I feel like it's one of the quintessential Good Morning Bedlam songs of this record. Like, I feel like it's very specifically our sound at that time, and it's showing this progression into our first record was very much very much sounded like the Ava Brothers, even in its rawness. And this one I feel like is better, we did that ourselves, and then this record is our first professionally done record, and there's a lot of experimenting that we do with it. And then I feel like this song is a great representation of that, like the different things we've tried and some really out there ideas. And so that's kind of what the song is about.
Right on.
Wow, that's great, and I love it. Joe just said, "I've got the genre here: country, bluegrass, existentialism."
Don't forget hardcore.
Hardcore.
There was some serious hardcore banjo going on in there. I was really appreciating that.
And the mandolin, some really great tasty picking in there. And I also, I'm so glad you told us what kind of inspired that song, talking about anxiety, because I feel like a lot of times in our heads, there's so much going on and the wheels are spinning. And I really got that feeling from listening to this song of like kind of the endless loop that we get in sometimes, which I think is really, really great. If you just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party, we're joined by Good Morning Bedlam, talking about their 2018 release, Like Kings Today, and listening to the songs, getting their takes on the songs. And if you like what you hear, there is a tip jar, which you can throw a little money their way, because they haven't been touring, so it's a good time.
Now they are touring though.
Now they are touring. That's
so
true.
They need gas money, folks.
Exactly.
And there's no better way to fill up their tank than throwing a little something in their Venmo, Good Morning Bedlam at Venmo, or you can head on over to their website and support them directly by purchasing this music. Now, is this album still available in physical form?
Oh yeah, it's available in CD as well as vinyl. So
right.
You heard it, folks. This is probably the best way to support an artist and show them that you appreciate them is head on over to goodmorningbedlam.com and pick up a copy. And I reckon you guys would sign it for them if they asked. And Yeah, and that would be like the equivalent of 3 years of Spotify plays right there.
Exactly. And speaking of the physical album, Connie wanted to know about the cover art, which I did as well, because it's pretty magnificent, and I bet it looks pretty amazing on that vinyl size.
Yeah.
But what can you tell us about the artwork? Who did it? What was the inspiration behind it?
Definitely. I did a lot of the I do a lot of the communication with our artists. We work with Tyler and Janae Michaelitz. We met them at a show like 5 years ago now, and we just really clicked. And we started, it's really vulnerable to start a relationship with an artist where you're like, try to represent my music in a visual form. And what I loved about what they did with Like Kings is I talked them through the stories of all of the songs, and kind of definitely the Like Kings in particular has a narrative, I feel, when I listen to it front to back. And if you're looking at the cover, it's a man on a horse, and he's a soldier, not any specific soldier, just, a soldier on a horse. And I love this art because I feel like it is abstract. So I would love for people to just have their interpretation. That is totally fine. But what we were thinking when I explain it to people is at the time and still currently, we see making music and making our art as something that you'd want to go with as much passion as you would go to war with this kind of with that kind of energy. And so that's why he's a soldier on a horse. And then at his feet, you have the snake and the flower to represent like the juxtaposition we were talking about within the album of not only musically is there a lot of juxtaposition, but there's also lyrically a lot of like high highs, low lows, a lot of peace, a lot of destruction, a lot of like opposing ideas coming together, a lot of happy melodies with really sad lyrics. And so that's what the flowers and the snake are. And then if you're looking at the image, he has a white flag, and that to me is a representation of you can go to war for something, whether it's your passion, your career, your family, your spirituality, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of like surrender to the fact that, or at least for us, we have to surrender to the fact that we're not guaranteed success or fame or anything, and we have to do it because we love it. And the paint over his face is that's kind of, that could be anybody. That is everybody. That everybody has something that's driving them, whether it's even just the drive to, experience joy. I don't know. And then you have the circle behind him is kind of like looking through a telescope. But the illusion is to be that he's within the telescope, that he's neither looking at the beginning nor at the end of it, but he's right in the middle of it, of the journey. So that when you turn over the record and look at the back of the album, which if you buy the vinyl or the CD, you can see the back of the album yourself. When you turn over the record, it's a full landscape to kind of illustrate how at the end of all of the songs, it's a full perspective of that time of life that I feel like Isaac went through, but also I went through and Sophie went through, and we were all living life at the same time together through that. So that's the long version.
I love it.
I love it too.
I think it was one of the most in-depth conversations about artwork that we've probably had on the show.
Yeah.
And we've had some amazing artwork and some great backstories, but I have to say that was the level of attention to that kind of detail is so awesome. And to get that insight. And also I'm glad that you mentioned that it was paint on his face, because I, being a Minnesotan, thought it was just a giant scarf.
Well, you can interpret it that way,
That's your
Ellen.
own interpretation. I'm glad. He's just really cold. He's just really cold. He's a Minnesota. I like it. I like that interpretation.
Well, if you want to see it in all of its glory, you definitely should get the LP and have that nice big version of it. And you can go to goodmorningbedlam.com and pick up your copy. There's a link in the comments.
Also, following us on Spotify is not unhelpful. That's
Yes.
actually a super great thing for us.
Yes.
If you are so inclined.
And we'll have links to their Spotify and to their website and everything like that in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. And but let's get more music. What do you think? This next song is The Orchard. Is there anything you want to say about it before we dive in?
I feel like this song is at the heart of this record.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's always one song per each of our records that is like an encapsulation of the piece as a whole, as the album as a whole. And I really feel like this is that song for this one.
Right on. Well, let's give it a listen. This is The Orchard, Good Morning Bedlam on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
21 years in a sheepskin suit, and I clean it each day, but the real still shines through. And would I hide it each day if I'd nothing left to lose? Would I stumble around this earth and sing this verse of this tune that I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. What if I don't make it? What if no one knows my name? Lay my feelings out in song and no one feels the same. Well, you connect with me, sing back to me. Let me know you know that like me you're always searching. You never seem to grow. You will say, oh, we don't know where we're going. Oh, we don't know where we're going.
Don't you know I love you? Don't you know I care? I vowed to come beside you. The doubts you won't share.
But I've read it all before in a book with just one rule: of the king and love the cripple, of the whore and of the fool. And if you do it, then you'll be free. You'll put down your politics and you'll finally know relief. And you'll say, oh, I know where I'm going. Oh, I know where I'm going. Instead, I want the power of the lion and the love of the lamb. I want to be upon the screen and put on life and pretend friends while myself feel it as my birthright. A rope round my neck and clings, hold my body to the butcher. I'm the beast, I'm not the king. And they'll say, oh, take me where he's going. And I'll say, oh, didn't I know what I was hoping for?
Don't you know I love you? Don't you know I care? I vowed to come beside you. The doubts you won't share.
We'll turn the earth in its place, clear the rocks from its face, dig the dirt, sink the space, tend the seeds day to day. As the roots dig down deep, the garden fills with the trees. We'll prune the old for new leaves, grow the orchard you need. Back break, handshake, our legs ache under the weight. Cut back, we take no rain, you'll know we come to say. We won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole. We won't go, we won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole. We won't go, we won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole. We won't go, we won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole. We won't go, we won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole. We won't go, we won't go, we won't leave this wasted world till our weary work is whole.
All right. Good Morning Bedlam
Nice.
with The Orchard. What a great tune. And yeah, a lot going on. You're talking about all the juxtapositions, and there was plenty of that going on within that song. And one thing that I noticed in particular, of course, aside from the obvious tempo changes and mood swings, for lack of a better term, is
The right term.
yeah, okay. So for at one point the vocals, and I can't tell, I wasn't keeping track of how many sections, but it was either the C or D section where all of a sudden the vocals get really big. It actually sounded like they were recorded differently, and I was curious if they had, or if that was just a volume shift, or how you guys sang it. But it sounded really different, and I'd be curious as to how you approach this song, but the album in general, in terms of how you recorded stuff. Were you live? Did you layer stuff? Did you play around with different mics?
Mm-hmm. Was that in the right before the last chorus?
Yeah, I mean, for all of our recordings, we layer everything, just so that we have the ability to, after the song is, we have all of our normal live parts in that. If we want to do something to, bolster what is there live, whether that's more percussion or try another instrument or do something like that. And so, yeah, we recorded a bunch of gang vocals. We did them up close as a group, and we did them far away in the room, too. So you're getting some live room sound and that kind of stuff in there.
And I think that it was very intentional, because that part, I think you're talking about we'll turn the earth in this place. Da, da, da. That part, in my mind, is my like rock out part, right? So it's as if there was like pyrotechnics on the stage and like fire came up,
Which definitely happens at our shows.
Yeah. You gotta come to live.
If you haven't seen them live, folks, there's fireworks. Well, I mean, the hot licks,
The main reason that we added those like vocals in there was to give it that, because when we're on stage live, the energy we bring to that, or at least the energy that I try to bring to that section, is like the rock out, fire, big full-bodied energy. And when you're recording, it's so hard to really capture that. So I feel like the gang vocals there and the way it's produced there helps to like bolster that idea of, this is supposed to be intense. This is supposed to be like in your face. We're trying to make a point. We're trying to tell you this. So
one thing you'll realize if you listen through the Good Morning Bedlam catalog is that the two things we truly love are gang vocals and outros.
So many outros in every song. I love outros. Also, with those gang vocals, just every time, whenever we record gang vocals, so I mean, oftentimes you'll be around like one, at least this is how we record it now, you'll be around one or two mics, you'll kind of stand far away and you'll all just scream. I always hear my voice in this song just like, we won't go, and it's just like a little bit higher than everybody else's, and that's all I can hear when I listen to those screaming gang vocals. I'm just like,
Well, they blended well to our untrained, or like less critical ear here.
Perfect.
And I will say, folks who are listening on YouTube, maybe you're listening through a phone or your computer while you're doing other things, you need to listen to the real thing. Get this album. I'm sure on vinyl it must sound even more amazing, but either way, get a high quality version that you can listen to, so you can hear all this detail, and so you can hear her high voice.
The production
there,
the production is really amazing. There really is a lot going on, and it seems like you like to have something to work with in post, right? Like that you can move these little blocks around. It's interesting. We talked to a lot of different artists, and there's a lot of different ways to approach recorded music. And this is one that's come up a few times, where just do lots of different things. You mentioned recording in two different distances, and then you can kind of go back and tell that story in the way that you're feeling it. I think that's really cool. But while I have the microphone, I just have to ask about that super tasty melodic banjo playing on that track, because that perked my ear up. Can you tell us who was picking?
That was our friend Noah Pearson, who was our original banjo player. He played with us and helped us write all of the, he really helped write and arrange, along with these two, the King's record, and he played and helped arrange on the first record as well. And then he stepped down right when we went full time about 3.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But he was a huge piece of putting this record together, and I think that was his favorite part to play.
It added such a cool texture, like rhythmic texture, just like kind of weaving its way around all the other instruments.
what I call it in my head, and I think this is what he called it, was the waterfall part.
Mhm.
Because waterfall.
That one part.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
then there's my favorite part, which is when in the section where I sing, it's like the sexy banjo part where it's like,
He does
I heard
that.
that little blues lick, yeah.
Yeah. I think both Tony and I were like, oh,
Yeah, right. And there was like a little call and response with the guitar too, right there.
Yeah.
That was really
Yeah, I agree. Well, I would love for folks, again, how many people was it, Noah and the three of you who were like the primary musicians? Did you bring any guest people, or was it just the four of you playing on this?
For that one, we did a few guest musicians. We had our friend John Baumgartner play trombone, and he plays in a band called
on the record.
on this. Oh, on
No.
the record.
Not on the Orchard though.
Oh, not on the Orchard. Yeah.
The
No, but
Orchard was
I'd love to know the
It was
album
just for
though.
us doing all the percussion and the
singing,
the
playing.
singing, playing, layering stuff up.
Yeah. And our old banjo player played the tambourine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now
Nice.
in live shows, I play the tambourine. And he was at a show recently, and I was like, "You do such a good job at tambourine." He was like, "I thought you did a good job." And I just gotta say that was a small moment of triumph for me.
Hey, tambourine's an art form, you know. It's
Yeah.
not just
It's
standing out
harder
there and
than you
shaking it.
think. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of,
It's part of the
go
show.
ahead.
No.
Okay, I was going to say, speaking of percussion, for those, you actually have percussion on stage, right? Like foot percussion that you're playing. So when you're recording something like this, are you kind of doing that all live, or are you kind of going back and kind of sitting down at a drum set and doing it that way?
Yeah, for this record, we did everything layered. And so what we would do for the Light Kings record is I would lay down what I do live, and then we'd either build on it, or we'd say, okay, so what you're doing is you're kind of doing this pattern where you're going, you're doing this thing in this section. Either we can put that in the record, or we can take more percussion and we can kind of bolster the idea you're going for. Since all I have is a kick and a hi-hat
Mm-hmm.
On stage. And so I'll replicate certain beats and I'll try different stuff with my feet while I'm playing. But then when we went into the studio, sometimes we would keep it exactly the same, where it's like, oh yeah, all it needs is a kick and a hi-hat / tambourine. Or sometimes, okay, let's take that and let's add in a shaker, or let's add in, this piece of percussion or that piece of percussion, some cymbals or something like that.
Cool.
And for folks who haven't seen you live, for when it's the three of you playing, maybe you could even just say what instruments you play when you're doing a live show, because as you said, you're all doing different things on the album.
Yeah. I play the upright bass and I sing. That's what I do.
I play violin and I sing, and occasionally tambourine in live shows.
Yes.
I sing and I play guitar and I play baritone ukulele, and then I play the kick and the hi-hat with my feet.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Right on.
And again, they are touring again, folks. So especially if you're in the Midwest, I think that's where the bulk of the dates are right now.
Yep.
But they play all over the country. So you could go to their website, goodmorningbedlam.com. Joe has a question. Do you have some favorite vocal harmony groups? Which is a good question because, you guys are such great singers.
Really interesting choices in some of the harmonies too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a couple, but one of my favorites is, of course, Nickel Creek. Tasty harmonies. And then I would also have to say Joseph, the band Joseph.
Yeah.
Their harmonies are, they're sisters, and it shows because, dang, they're very tight. And then there are some of our buds, so you might not know them, but you should. The band The Arcadian Wild.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard those.
Yeah.
Guys.
They have some of the best harmonies I've ever heard.
Yes, fantastic harmonies, and also unique, very specific to them. So I feel like, and of course, I grew up in choir and listening to choral and musical theater music. So the idea of harmony, just I love it in anything,
Yeah, and maybe not harmony arrangement, but bands that I really like the way in which they use harmonies, either thematically or in just in those ways, would be bands like the Oh Hellos are one of our favorites, and the Avett Brothers. When they choose to do that kind of stuff. And obviously they're brothers, so their harmonies are also, they sound so good.
Something about siblings.
Honorable mentions though. First Aid Kit.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, love them.
Wow.
And Lucius,
Mm-hmm.
the band Lucius.
Yeah.
It's hauntingly good.
Yes. Also along the lines of what Isaac is saying about like how kind of how the band uses the harmonies. I love how in the album The Dotted Line specifically
Yeah, by Nickel Creek.
by Nickel Creek, how they use their harmonies in that one. It's just like it's placed so well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, great question, Joe. And this has been so much fun to revisit this album and to have you all talk about it. I think we have time for one more tune in the show today. So let's try and make sure we get to that. The next song you picked is Eastbound. Is there anything you want to say about it?
Afterwards.
All right.
Okay.
Everyone. This is Eastbound. Good Morning Bedlam on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
And bring me that horizon, let me hear the call of sirens, I won't go to them. For I have better things in mind,
With the sea in front, the sea behind.
and the wild wind whipping on my shoulders. For in the sea we have no name, we are brothers, we're the same, but we hear differently. Both strong and in our youth, the exception is I've heard the truth, and all I want is you to hear it too. And do you know what you're looking for? And do you know what you're searching for? And we've left behind the shore and come knocking on the sea's front door in hopes that she will take us where she's going. Will she take us to the east? Is that where we'll find the feast? Either way we will follow where she's flowing. We're always proving what we know, that we can face the sea and return home, when in our head just screaming, we are not alone, we are not alone, we are not alone, we are not alone. Please don't let us be. And do you know what you're looking for? And do you know what you're searching for? And I can see what's in your mind. Look ahead, let go what's behind. That storm will take you over the side. And I'll reach down and pull you out, even though we're both sure to drown. Maybe overboard is just a different route. And down, down we go to the bottom, sinking deeper, darker down we go. Siren song, the light is gone. This life is long and I'll do you wrong. And all the things you thought searching for. Now we must return to see if we've really learned or if the sun just left us burn. For the sea it treats us well, but if we learn to love ourselves, we can learn to love you. We can learn to love you.
All right.
yeah.
Good Morning Bedlam with Eastbound from their album Like Kings. We've been revisiting today on the back catalog listening party with Good Morning Bedlam, Sophia, Tori, and Isaac joining us from North Minneapolis. And what a beautiful song. So great to hear all these tracks today.
And another example of not your typical A B A B C B form. I'm sensing a theme here, and it's really interesting because when I was younger, I might have dabbled in heavy metal music, and I remember thinking sometimes it sounded more like classical music, where there was themes. There was themes that came here, and then they came in over there, and then there was something, and it closed out, and it's like way more complex than some people give it credit for. And I'm hearing that in all these songs, and I just think that's a really interesting take, giving the juxtaposition of the folk instruments. It's really, really cool because I listen to a lot of folk music. I'm kind of in that acoustic world, and it's a lot of A B, maybe a C, but so it's really refreshing, and it's very interesting to hear how much thought you're putting into those different themes.
And I think that sometimes it's that, like, thinking first off, we get bored really easily. And second, I feel like we all love to tell stories in certain capacities. Like I love, that's one of my favorite parts about playing music is communicating and telling a story. And a story has, a rise, a climax, and a fall. And I especially think that Eastbound is a great example of that, of just like, it's a story song. And the way that it builds, and the way that I've had people after the show, when we play it live, come up to me and they're like, it was like you were describing the sea musically, like the rise and fall of the waves and the crashing and the falling. And I love that music can do that music can paint pictures and tell very vivid stories when you're playing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, certainly a very vivid picture painted on this whole record. And it's been such a treat to have you all join us today, and all of you out there listening. I do want to recommend not only to get this album on vinyl or CD and order it from them at goodmorningbedlam.com, but again, check out their tour dates, see these folks live. I remember seeing them for the first time live at several years back at the Loring Park Festival. They're crammed in this little park building, and you just knocked my socks off, and I was like, who are these guys? And ever since then, it's been so fun to see all your wonderful success, and much deserved. So it's been a real treat to have you here today. Thank you, Connie, for joining us. And if you liked the episode today, make sure to like it on YouTube, give it the thumbs up so all that's find Good Morning Bedlam and check out their YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to find out what's next. We do this every week, not always with Good Morning Bedlam, but with someone, different guest artists every week, revisiting old records. So you can check that out.
Yeah, and one of the ways that we were able to keep this going after the world started opening back up is we started a Patreon community. and we want to we want to give thanks to our Patreon community. But Good Morning Bedlam also has a thriving Patreon community, and we wanted to maybe give you guys a chance to give a shout out to them, and maybe encourage people to head on over there to patreon.com/goodmorningbedlam and check it out. What all could folks get if they joined your community?
Yeah, so we actually love our Patreon community because it lots of times, obviously when you go to a show, you get to experience bands you love, but Patreon allows us to connect more deeply with the people that do support our music, whether that's going to shows, obviously supporting us on Patreon, but coming to see us and listening to our music. And so the people that sign up on our Patreon are the fans that we actually get to know the best. And they're very involved in the journey of what we do, and that's so special for us, and we hope it's special for them. And we do a bunch of stuff on there. One thing that kind of reminded me of this podcast is, if you liked hearing us talk a little bit about the songs, is that I do a video series, and sometimes Sophie and Tori will join me on it, where I'll choose a song a month, and I break down that song, all the themes, the writing, the meaning behind everything. And that is like one of my favorite things to do. So if you enjoy hearing about songs and the songwriting and all of that, I get very into that. I love doing that. Some of them are 10 minutes. Some of them are like 30. Some of them end up being 50, and I have to edit them down to 20. I just love to do like a deep dive into the songwriting and that kind of stuff. And we do first drafts of songs and lyrics and voice memos when we are writing. We do a blog on there. Tori sends postcards to people from the road. We do early releases of everything on there. So we're about to release a new record, and all of the songs will be up there before we release it publicly. And we've got a bunch of really fun stuff on there, and that's been a really special community for us to get to be a part of, and we hope people enjoy it.
Very cool. And
Wonderful.
yeah, there is really something to be said about the community that can gather in a platform like that, where it's just, people who are really, really into it. We totally get this idea of nerding out and just deep dives into music, into writing, into production, all this kind of stuff that we're talking about. And we, like I was setting it up earlier, we couldn't do it without our Patreon community. So we want to give a huge, huge shout out to Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, the Homestead Pick and Parlor, and our friend Severin over in Germany. Thank you so much for keeping this show going. We have a link scrolling here where you could join our Patreon as well. Every week we get together and do this. We listen to music with really great bands like Good Morning Bedlam, and one of the perks for our Patreon community are after parties that we throw. And Good Morning Bedlam has been so gracious to agree to do an after party today. So if you're one of our Patreon communities, the party community members, the party keeps going. Right after the show today, we're going to hang out. We have another song we're going to listen to, and we'll be able to see you via Zoom, so you can ask your questions face to face.
It's going to be a real fun time.
Oh,
We're looking forward to it.
And again, if you are a Patreon member, look for that Zoom link. It should be in your inbox. And thanks to everyone for joining us. This is what it's about. It's about talking about music, seeing your virtual faces, and connecting with musicians. So thank you so much for being a part of it, and best hour of our week every week.
Yeah, and thanks again to Good Morning Bedlam for being here.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Well, until next week, we will see you back here on the Back Catalog